So have you ever wondered what happened to those green boxes that you pack every November for Operation Christmas Child? Have you ever wondered, okay, so I got it, I put all these goodies in it, I put a picture of myself, a letter, and some shipping help in there, and I dropped it off at church. Where does it go from there? Well, today we've got an exciting episode of Life Talks because we're going to be talking at what happens to the green boxes at Operation Christmas Child. My name is Dan. I'm one of the teaching pastors at Life Fellowship in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm blessed today to have a friend of mine, Brian Gresham, who is the Senior Regional Director of Church Engagement for Samaritan's Purse. Brian, welcome to Life Talks. I'm glad you came.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So Brian is a part of our church family, but I got to know him. We've had coffee a couple of times, and every time I talk to him, I'm just more and more excited about what he's doing as a part of Samaritan's Purse. But specifically, he knows the inside scoop on what's going on with Operation Christmas Child boxes. Yeah. Brian, I told you that last July, I went to an Operation Christmas Child distribution in Nairobi, Kenya.
Right.
I walked into this auditorium. There's probably 350 kids there, all of them probably under the age of 10. They all were sitting in chairs in little school uniforms, and it was in a impoverished setting. This was basically a slum area of Kenya, but they went to this private Christian school that basically was open to the kids. It's a ministry from an American group. They had their little uniforms on. They had their box. They were quivering in anticipation.
Wow.
The director of OCC in Nairobi was there. He had presented the gospel. There were parents and teachers that were there. They heard the gospel. The kids were just absolutely overwhelmed with this, and they played a couple little games, and then they opened their boxes. I've got video of it, and it is one of the most moving things I've ever been a part of in my life. So you're part of that. You get to see it. You know what goes on. So first of all, tell us a little bit about what your position is at Operation Christmas Child. I mean, or with a Samaritan's Purse. That's a big title. Yeah. And then kind of tell us a little bit about how things work with the boxes.
Sure, be glad to. Thanks again for having me. It's good to be here. And within Samaritan's Purse, I get the privilege of working with church partners, churches like this one that support Samaritan's Purse and Operation Christmas Child. And my job is to make sure that you guys are really well informed on the impact that you're making through your generosity, through the packing of gift boxes, how the Lord is using that to reach kids with the gospel and the good news of Jesus. And so, I get to work with pastors like you and appreciate and equip and encourage you guys on the impact the partnership is having. And so I've been with Samaritan's Purse for quite a number of years, and most of my time has been with Operation Christmas Child. And one of the funnest things for me to talk about is what happens after the shoebox, because packing it with your family or praying over it as a church is really just the beginning. It's what's happening through the local church around the world that's really exciting. Most people who pack a shoebox or have done it for many years aren't familiar with the Greatest Journey Discipleship Program, but starting from the beginning, say we pack a box together here at the table, we'll take it to our church, it may get prayed over, and then sent out to a processing center. The closest one for us is Charlotte, North Carolina, so we process and inspect all the shoe boxes. We'll have somewhere around 30,000 volunteers over the course of a month in Charlotte who will inspect every box, pray over them, and then they go straight into sea containers and around the world to somewhere around 100 different countries every year.
Yep.
They go into the hands of local church leaders, and local church leaders organize outreach events just like the one that you attended in Kenya. And that outreach event, most of the kids don't know that they're going to be receiving a gift. They're just coming to a program that they were invited to by their friend or through that church, and they think they're getting a fun program. But what they don't know is that they're going to receive a gift. And the joy that comes with this gift for these kids is just so amazing to see. I'm really glad you got to see it. But when they count down 3, 2, 1, and all the kids open their shoebox, it's just joy and mayhem. And what we make sure we're intentional about doing is inviting all those kids that receive a shoebox gift out the outreach event. We make sure there's a very clear gospel presentation, and we make sure we invite those children to come back to the local church so that they can join the Greatest Journey Discipleship Program. That's a 12-lesson study that goes through who Jesus is, how to walk with him as a disciple, and how to share your faith with your friends and family. And that is where we're seeing like a ton of life change. The Lord's using it in amazing ways. And it culminates with the graduation where community leaders and families come together and celebrate kids that graduate and make decisions for Christ.
Yeah, that's just amazing. And while we were there, they had a little, I guess it's the introductory booklet that they use for The Greatest Journey.
The Greatest Gift. The Greatest Gift is handed out together with the box. So think of the shoebox as a gospel opportunity. Each one is a gospel opportunity that is representative of one child who's going to receive it. We will tell the children in most cases when they get their shoebox that this is a gift. It's packed by somebody who loves you and cares for you and wants you to know that Jesus loves you. It's packed by someone on the other side of the world. But we want you to know that Jesus is the greatest gift. And so that booklet called The Greatest Gift is basically the gospel. And that will be given to the kids with their shoebox.
Excellent. Over the years, it's been my privilege, and I say privilege, it's just fun to go down to the distribution center.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about Samaritan's Purse and Operation Christmas Child specifically is you don't do things unless you do them right. I mean, the best organized factory manufacturing process, distribution systems I've ever seen pale in comparison to the precision and the care that goes in to what you do with Operation Christmas Child, preparing these boxes, shipping them out. While we were there, they put tags on them, that they scan and so forth. Tell us a little bit about what that entails.
Yeah. So any family or person who packs a shoebox can print from our website a Follow Your Box label, and that gives you the ability to track your shoebox. So it's affixed on the top of the box, and in the warehouse, we'll scan it, we'll associate it to a carton, and then we'll scan that carton barcode and associate that to a sea container and to a region of the country where those boxes are going, which gives us the ability to go back to the donor, the original packer, and tell them your box is on its way to Kenya, for example. Here's how you can pray specifically for the kids in Kenya.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you saying that complimentary things about the process there. We work really hard to make it very cost-effective, efficient, and a good experience for the volunteers.
Yeah, and I would just say, I know people from all over the country and even around the world listen to this podcast, but where all do you have these distribution centers where you inspect and repack the boxes for shipping? Yeah,
so in the United States, Atlanta, Charlotte, Baltimore, Chicago, Denver, Southern California, and Dallas. So I think that's 8 total.
I'm really impressed that you could list those like that. I thought, I just threw him a curveball.
That's my old world with Operation Christmas Child. So yeah, being a part of that was fun.
So if you live in any of those metro areas, and I know this is true in Charlotte, that there are buses from people from churches that come from Kentucky, Ohio,
that's right,
Virginia, West Virginia. I see them in the parking lot when I go to volunteer, and they make a day of it.
Yeah.
They plan it in advance. They stay the night before in a hotel. They start early in the morning. They continue. Some of them stay for a day or two.
It's true. Some of my favorite stories, we had a group that came to Charlotte for many years in a row, and they would all take a week vacation, rent a Greyhound bus, and come and volunteer for a full week.
Yeah.
And so it's incredible, the commitment. But it's just fun. Really what it comes down to is a great fun opportunity to serve together with your friends. Yeah. It's a group table opportunity to serve.
I think there's like fun. 10 or 12 at a table.
That's
usually,
right.
Yeah. And so there's different jobs in there. So somebody takes the box and they cut the tape off of it so that you can open it.
Yeah.
Somebody inspects it to make sure that the check, a lot of people put their check in it and the envelope, and that gets put. And here's the other thing I love about Operation Christmas Child. So that check, that money goes into a little mini safe underneath there.
Right.
So the handling of all of this is done with precise care and accountability.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. And one of the messages that we teach and preach, if you will, at the volunteer processing centers is maintain the integrity of the box.
Yes.
And so whether you're doing pre-inspection and taking out any financial donations and putting them into the lockbox or inspecting through the box, we want to do our best to honor the intentions of the person that packed the box, because that's the person that prayed for that child and prayed or considered what to put into the box. And so we want our volunteers to be making sure that everything's appropriate for the child, and adding if there's any space that needs to be, backfilled. But we want to maintain the integrity of the box.
Yeah. So that historically has been the spot I pick.
Yeah.
I happen to get get that by a fluke the first time, and I've enjoyed it so much every time I finagle my way to I get to be, because I'm really blessed by going through the box. And this sounds super selfish, Brian, but
I doubt it.
So when I go through, I see handmade things.
Oh yeah.
I'll see things that like a women's missionary union or something. They've knit scarves or socks, or they've made things. They put together baggies filled with games and toys, and you can see the intentionality and the care in there. The other thing I love seeing is a lot of times they'll tape a picture of the family or the church or the group or the person on the lid of the box, and they'll put a little note or a little letter and tell them they're praying for them. I've got to think that when somebody opens that up in an island nation somewhere, or in Asia or in Africa or the Middle East, that's got to leave a big impression with them.
100% does. Two stories that quickly come to mind. One, when we had the privilege of serving in South Sudan, there was a small bush little village, and they received shoeboxes. And I can specifically remember a missionary contacting me later and visiting that church, and they were there to speak, and there was a note that was basically nailed to the center post of this mud hut church that was written by somebody who had packed a shoebox.
Isn't that incredible?
Another quick experience of mine was in Bolivia. We were responding at Samaritan's Purse. We were on the DART team, and we were responding to a flood. And this is kind of in the Amazon basin of Bolivia. There's so much water. Everything was inundated except for the hillside areas. And we were in this hillside community that had basically a fairgrounds for cattle shows. And Samaritan's Purse had worked to build about 900 temporary shelters. And we brought all the kids together in that camp during that flood to hand out shoebox gifts and share the gospel. It was amazing. My favorite memory of the whole thing is when we were leaving, we were walking out through the rows of temporary tents with all these families, and they didn't have the ability to give their kids any gifts or bring much from their homes when they were displaced. And this dad chased me down, came up to me, asked me in Spanish to translate the letter that was written for his kid. You could just walk through the rows of tents and look inside and see these kids showing their stuff to their siblings and to their parents. And this dad tracked me down, and he wanted me to read what it was. And it was a beautiful note. It was, Jesus loves you. We're praying for you. It was just it was a very kind note. And it seemed to me that gift meant as much to the father as it did to the kid.
Yeah, that is so cool.
So yeah, please continue to personalize them, because that's what's so awesome about the shoebox gift is each box is different. And the Lord uses all these unique items that you put in your gift to uniquely touch the hearts of these kids and open their ears to the gospel.
Yeah, and this is something that anybody can do. That's good. So my 83-year-old mother
100%.
puts one or two together a year, or probably more than that. And all year long, she looks, for, that would be nice. And she'll pick it up, and she puts it in a box in her closet for when she puts her box together. I know of a little girl in the Chicago area. In fact, she was with me and my wife and our team on this trip that I believe she put together 540 boxes.
Oh yeah. Wow.
They did them in her basement. They did a whole, she would go to the Walmart, and she would go to the manager and say, I want any toys that you're going to discount. I want to buy them at a discount. And they ended up giving her tons of these things to put in the boxes.
Nice.
And she's now expanded to the internet. They've got a whole system in their basement, and they work on it for months. So, whether you're a senior adult living on a fixed income in a retirement community, or whether you're an ambitious kid who just thinks this is the coolest way to do it, everybody can get involved. Whether it's from starting the box or so I'm going to go back to the distribution center, because in the distribution center, once we check the box, like for instance, if somebody puts a toy gun in accidentally, or somebody puts, in some cases, like a Barbie doll that may be going to the Middle East or something, and that may be offensive to people in the Muslim or whatever. So we're instructed to take those out. Those aren't just discarded; they're used in other ways. We have bins that are collected in them, and then there's things like if they leak. We can't put those in there.
Like liquids.
Yeah. And so those are given, I believe, to like rescue missions and homeless shelters and so forth.
That's correct.
So everything that's given ultimately helps somebody. But if somebody mispacks it, then we fill in. We have items that we can fill in. Then it's taped.
Yeah.
And then it's put in a big box. And then those little things are scanned, and then the things scan. Then they're put on pallets.
Yep.
Then the pallets are put in trucks.
Yep.
And then the trucks go where?
They go to different countries. But you're right. And jumping back to the items that go into the shoebox, it is common, and it's it's just common for people to have great intentions, but not necessarily have the right item in the box. And what I mean by that is someone might put a big bottle of shampoo. Yeah. Well, if a bottle of shampoo leaks, it could ruin everything in the box. And so we'll take that out. Or the
whole crate.
Yeah, we'll take that out and we'll replace it with a stuffed animal or a donated filler item is what we call them, to make sure that that box is full and a full representation of God's love. We'll give that donated shampoo, or whether it's hand sanitizer or anything else that's inappropriate for the kid, and we'll give it to another nonprofit Christian organization who can use it in part of their ministry. But once these things go through that inspection line and they're on the sea container, they're going straight to destination port and into the hands of local volunteers. The amazing thing that most people don't realize that makes Operation Christmas Child work is the army of volunteers, both here in the U.S., but especially internationally. So to go to about 100 to 110 countries each year and to hand out boxes to about 11 million kids every year, this year it'll be beyond that, you need an army of volunteers and churches that are equipped and trained on how to share the gospel and even take care of the logistics. So take Kenya, for instance. It'll probably go to maybe Mombasa as a port, and then the national leadership team of volunteers there, that leadership team will have a strategic plan of how they're going to strategically reach different regions within the country, and they'll divide up the boxes and send them to different warehouses within the regions of the country. And then that national leadership and regional leadership team will have a plan for how they're going to hand them out to kids. Most of the shoe boxes arrive in, some in December to places like Mexico that are close, but most are January, February, March because they have to cross the ocean. And then our national leadership teams will together as a whole put together an astounding 115,000 outreach events worldwide, estimated, and share the gospel with 11 million kids. But that's just a logistical feat that doesn't happen without the local church desiring to have these gifts as an opportunity to reach kids in their community.
Yeah. And it's complicated in some ways to get these into some countries, because some countries are suspicious because it's a Christian organization or a faith-based organization. Some of them, like I believe was the case in Kenya, there are problems at the port before that. That's why it was July before these kids got it. But sometimes they want a tax. Sometimes you work in countries where there may be corruption in a government that somebody's waiting, for a little extra something special on their part before they let them in. So you have to have people on the ground there. And I got to meet some of those. And again, these guys are not compensated, correct?
No, they're all volunteers. I mean, on the international side, you have, I think there's 240,000 teachers that were trained last year just on how to share the gospel and do discipleship internationally. And maybe 1,000 of those are related specifically to logistics. So in order to get not only boxes imported and distributed, you need somebody that's skilled logistically in that country and knows the trucking and the shipping and all that process. But you also need someone that's connected that can help get exoneration so that we're not paying import taxes or anything like that on the boxes.
Yeah. And then once they get to the port, you're taking these sometimes up into the mountains or down into the valleys or and into regions that I'm going to guess that some of them probably get there by muleback.
Sure. Yeah. That's some of the, if you want to spend fun time on the Samaritan's First website, look for modes of transportation for shoe boxes, because everything from trailers to camelback to oxen, donkeys, elephants, trucks, it's all been used. Canoes in the Amazon River. It's pretty amazing to see how the local volunteers will take whatever means of transportation they have available to get shoe boxes to kids.
And those boxes were once sitting on your dining room table. That's the cool thing. You're touching parts of the world with a gospel message, and you did it out of your house.
Oh, it's incredible to think that, you and your kids, say you pack 4 boxes. Well, let's give my family as an example. I've got 3 kids. We pack 5 boxes to know that those 5 gifts are going to some country, and to some cases, very hard to reach places. I mean, it could be a month in the sea container on a boat, and then it can be weeks by truck, and then all the way to animals and to get to the hands of the kid. But it's just amazing to see the effort and links that people will go to get it there. And for me, one of the things that I always like to talk about, going back to the Greatest Journey discipleship program, Operation Christmas Child is all about evangelism and discipleship. The shoebox opens the door for us to share the gospel with kids. The outreach event and the giving of the gift box opens the door for us to invite kids to come back to be discipled by their local teacher, their local pastor. And it's through that discipleship program where these kids are making decisions to follow Christ. Many people don't realize, but the way in which the Lord is using this box effectively to reach kids is absolutely astounding. About half the kids that receive a shoebox are voluntarily choosing to come back and go through that 12-lesson discipleship with their local pastor. They're learning. Lesson 6, they have the opportunity to commit their lives to the Lord. Lesson 9, I believe it is, they're asked to list friends and family that they want to commit to pray and share their faith with. On the average, the last number of years, we're seeing about half the kids that go through discipleship making decisions for Christ.
Wow.
So in 2024, we just haven't quite finished, but we've already passed 3 million kids that have accepted Christ through the greatest journey.
Fantastic.
So jumping back to the family of 4 or 5, if I'm packing 4 or 5 shoe boxes, chances are that half those kids, 2 of those 4, are going to go through the greatest journey of discipleship and be discipled by their local pastor in their local language with discipleship material. And one of those 2 is statistically probably going to accept Christ. And so it's just
what a great investment of an evening.
Oh my goodness. Amen.
Yeah, that it's so cool. We don't have a lot of time left, but there's just a couple of other things I just want to touch. And this is something I kind of had a misimpression on. You corrected me in one of our conversations, but I kept saying, so when you give these to American missionaries to distribute, when you give these, and yet you have said over and over and over and over again, 2 words in 2 contexts. Yeah. You say local pastors and local churches.
Yes.
That's something different that I would like for you to explain, because I was under a misimpression on that.
There are occasional circumstances where there's not a local church that's positioned to be able to hand out a box, but it's rare. I mean, the world is full of the local church, praise God. And our desire is to work in and through the local church. I mean, the church is the Lord's institution. It's his designed organization for taking the gospel and equipping the saints to share the hope of Christ with the world. And so we want to work through the local church because they're positioned, they'll be there long after we're gone or long after the missionary is not able to serve there. So we want to invest in the local church to build up the local church so that they can effectively minister in their community. We do go through an application process. We go through a vetting process to make sure we're aligned. We go through an extensive training process to make sure that the local church and the leaders are well equipped to share the gospel. But yeah, we are selectively, intentionally trying to do it all through the local church. Yep. Samaritan's Purse has got this privilege of facilitating this and resourcing the local church worldwide to share the gospel and disciple kids.
Yep. You're serving as a conduit from the local church in America.
Yes.
To the local churches around the world.
That's right.
And I think that's really crucial. I'm a big local church guy.
Oh.
I believe because it's one of the institutions God formed, the family, the government, and the local church. And we ought to prioritize those institutions.
Yeah.
And so when I learned that, as if I did not have enough confidence in Operation Christmas Child already, it just doubled down on me. One last thing before we go that I just kind of want to emphasize, and maybe you might have a story on this as well if you want to close out with it. But the idea that, some people dismiss children who accept Christ as their Savior. Like, oh, well, they're kids. You can talk them into it, all this kind of stuff. And yet when you do surveys of adults, when did you make a decision to follow Christ? When did you surrender your life to Him? The vast majority of people who today are living out their faith as committed, fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ made that conscious surrender to Christ before they were 18 years of age.
Right.
I mean, it's well over 50%.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm assuming that these kids are being discipled. You got your 12 lesson program. I'm guessing that you've got some people that are now serving as adult volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
lots.
I even know of, I think I heard of some who found each other through this and got married and are in ministry together and so forth. So.
There are a number of those stories. That's one of the fun things about this program being around since 1993. There's a lot of what we call full circle stories. Kids that have received a box, prayed to receive Christ, and then have grown up in their church and now are a part of sharing the gospel or discipling other kids. And some are even moved back to the United States, and they're actively going around the United States sharing their story and their testimony so that more people who are packing shoeboxes like this audience will know the impact of the gift that they build. But yes, it is a unique thing where we have this privilege of seeing kids across generations come to Christ. And one of the things that I love seeing about the church worldwide is I feel like internationally, when I travel and go to these outreach events, I feel like the local church globally, not to be critical of the United States, but they engage kids really, really well in serving and ministering to even younger kids. So it's very common to see youth or young adults playing with the kids or being a part of the gospel presentation with the little kids that are receiving their box.
That's so cool. And it's a great challenge for us as well.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you so much for coming into the studio today and for sharing this. If somebody wanted to get more information specifically about Operation Christmas Child, where should they go?
Samaritan's Purse website. Yep, SamaritansPurse.org.
All right. Very good. I've been chatting today with Brian Gresham, Senior Regional Director of Church Engagement for Operation Christmas Child. I hope that when it comes time again this fall and you see your church talking about collecting boxes, that maybe this year you'll just do a little bit extra or get engaged for the first time. You've heard it straight from people who have been there. This is a program God is blessing around the world. Thank you so much for listening to us at Life Talks. We always encourage you, if you would, to share us on your social media pages and leave us a review or forward us to someone. But we're just grateful for our listeners in the area, around the country, and around the world. Thanks always for listening. And until next time, thanks for joining us here at Life Talks.